It usually starts in the quiet. Not the peaceful kind of quiet, but the kind that feels heavy, like the air itself is waiting for something to break. He's lying in bed, staring at the ceiling, listening to the low hum of the city outside his window. Cars passing, a siren far away. The world's still moving, even though his body is exhausted. His eyes are tired, his muscles ache, but his mind refuses to rest. Thoughts drift in, unannounced, stacking on top of each other like unfinished sentences. Did I say the wrong thing today? Why did that conversation feel off? What if I'm falling behind and don't even realize it yet? He exhales slowly, hoping the breath will carry the thoughts away. It doesn't. They come back louder, sharper, more convincing. Overthinking never knocks. It just sits down and makes itself at home. During the day, he looks fine. That's the part no one sees. He shows up. He answers messages. He smiles when required. He does what's expected of him. From the outside, he seems calm, maybe a little quiet, maybe a little reserved, but stable, responsible, together. But inside, there's a constant hum, like a machine that never shuts off. Every choice gets replayed. Every mistake gets magnified. Every silence gets interpreted as rejection. His brain doesn't just think, it interrogates. He remembers a moment earlier that day, a simple meeting. A harmless comment from a coworker. Nothing dramatic. But hours later, the words echo in his head as if they carried some hidden meaning. Was that sarcasm? Disapproval? A warning? He replays his own response, analyzing the tone of his voice, the timing of his words, the look on their face. He imagines alternate versions of the moment, each one worse than the last. In one version, he sounds foolish. In another, incompetent. In another, invisible. The scene loops until it feels more real than the memory itself. That's how overthinking works. It doesn't scream, it whispers. It asks questions that sound reasonable at first. Just being careful, it says. Just trying to understand. But slowly, quietly, it hijacks the brain, turning curiosity into fear, awareness into self-doubt. He sits up, rubbing his face, feeling the weight behind his eyes. The exhaustion isn't just physical. It's emotional, mental, the kind that sleep doesn't fix. Overthinking drains energy without ever producing relief. It keeps the mind busy, but never satisfied, like running on a treadmill that never slows down. Somewhere along the way, his brain learned that thinking more meant staying safe. If he could just analyze everything, predict every outcome, replay every interaction, maybe he could avoid pain. Maybe he could avoid failure. Maybe he could avoid being caught off guard again. Because once, a long time ago, he was. He doesn't like to think about that part. The moment when something went wrong, a relationship that ended without warning. A job that slipped away despite his effort. A time when he trusted someone and paid for it. Whatever it was, his mind remembers the feeling more than the details. The shock, the confusion, the helplessness. Overthinking was born there, quietly, as a defense. If I stay alert, if I stay prepared, if I never stop thinking, this won't happen again. But the brain doesn't know when to stop protecting. It doesn't know when the danger is gone. So it keeps scanning, keeps replaying. Keeps pulling memories from the past and worries from the future, stitching them together into a constant stream of noise. At night, when distractions fade, the volume turns up. The mind becomes a room full of mirrors, reflecting every insecurity back at him from a different angle. He walks to the kitchen, pours a glass of water, and leans against the counter. The cold floor grounds him for a moment. He stares out the window at the dark street, the yellow glow of streetlights painting long shadows. Somewhere out there, other people are awake too, other minds spiraling in silence. That thought brings a strange comfort. Overthinking feels isolating, but it's deeply human. His phone buzzes with a notification. He ignores it. Social media only feeds the noise. Perfect lives, filtered smiles, constant success. His brain compares without permission. Why am I not there yet? Why does everyone else seem to know what they're doing? Why does it feel like I'm always catching up? Motivation slips through his fingers when comparison takes over. The more he thinks, the less he acts. The less he acts, the more he thinks. This is how overthinking hijacks behavior. It paralyzes without force. It convinces you that you need more clarity before you move, but clarity never comes because movement is what creates it. The brain stays stuck in analysis mode, burning energy on imaginary scenarios instead of real steps. Back in bed, he closes his eyes. Images flash behind his eyelids. Conversations, missed opportunities. Futures that haven't happened yet but feel painfully real. His chest tightens. His breathing becomes shallow. Anxiety doesn't always arrive as panic. Sometimes it arrives as pressure. A constant sense that something is wrong, even when nothing is. The brain under stress doesn't distinguish between thought and threat. To it, imagined danger feels real. Heart rate rises, muscles tense, cortisol floods the system. The body prepares for a fight that never comes. And because the fight never resolves, the stress never releases. He remembers a time when thinking felt different. When thoughts were tools, not weapons. When curiosity didn't turn inward so harshly. Somewhere between responsibility and expectation, that changed. The world taught him to measure himself constantly. Productivity, success, social approval. The mind absorbed the message: you are only safe if you're improving. Only worthy if you're ahead. No wonder it won't rest. Hours pass, or maybe minutes. Time feels strange when you're trapped in your head. Eventually, something subtle shifts. Not a breakthrough, not an answer, just a moment of noticing. He notices that the thoughts are repeating. The same fears wearing different clothes, the same questions asked in new ways. And for the first time, instead of diving into them, he watches them. Like clouds drifting across a dark sky. Still there. Still heavy, but separate. Why does my mind keep doing this? He wonders, and for once the question doesn't feel accusatory. It feels curious. He realizes something quietly powerful. His mind isn't broken, it's tired. It's been working overtime for years, trying to protect him from pain that already happened. Overthinking isn't the enemy. It's a coping strategy that outlived its usefulness. That realization doesn't make the thoughts disappear, but it changes how he relates to them. Instead of fighting every worry, he lets them pass without engagement. Instead of believing every thought, he starts to see them as mental events, not facts. The brain can produce fear the same way it produces dreams, convincing, vivid, and not always true. He places a hand on his chest, feeling his heartbeat, still fast, but steady. He breathes slower, deeper. Not to calm himself down completely, but to signal safety. I'm here. I'm okay. This moment is survivable. Self-compassion enters quietly. Not as a dramatic affirmation, but as a gentle permission. Permission to be human, to be uncertain, to not have everything figured out. The inner voice softens. The questions lose some of their edge. In the days that follow, overthinking still shows up, it always does, but now there's space around it. When his mind starts looping, he notices the trigger: fatigue, stress, too much pressure. He learns that overthinking grows when he ignores his emotional needs, when rest is postponed, when feelings are swallowed instead of felt. He starts doing small things differently, almost without trying. He writes thoughts down, not to solve them, but to empty them. He moves his body when his mind feels stuck. He limits the noise he lets in. He reminds himself that clarity often follows action, not the other way around. Most importantly, he stops treating every thought like a command. Some thoughts are just weather, temporary, passing. There are still nights when the ceiling feels too close and the mind feels too loud. But now there's also trust. Trust that thoughts don't define him. Trust that feelings move if allowed. Trust that he doesn't need to outthink life to live it. Overthinking once felt like control. Now he sees it for what it is, a mind trying to protect a heart that has been bruised. And instead of pushing it away, he learns to listen without obeying. The world doesn't change overnight. Problems don't magically disappear, but something inside him shifts. The grip loosens, the noise lowers. The space between thoughts widens just enough to breathe. And in that space, there's something rare and powerful. Not certainty, not perfection, but presence. If you felt this too, the endless loops, the quiet exhaustion, the feeling that your own mind is working against you, know this. You're not weak, you're aware. And awareness, when met with kindness, becomes the beginning of freedom. This channel exists for those quiet battles. For the minds that think too much and feel too deeply. If this story felt familiar, stay with us. Subscribe and keep exploring the human mind, emotional strength, and the slow, real path toward clarity and growth.